Welcome back. Today I'm going to work on some chess puzzles because, like we all do, I need the practice. But instead of just doing the random puzzles, I'm going to go to the puzzles by theme section on chess.com and pick some of the ones that I haven't done that well at. You'll see what I mean. Here on the puzzles by theme page, there's a list of different themes, and there's also a My Score section. Here by each theme, there's a score that shows 0% on some of them, and I don't know if that means I've never done a puzzle with that theme, or I've never solved a puzzle correctly with that theme. So I'm just going to look at the ones where I have a 0%. For example, with Rooks on the 7th, it says 67%. So I assume that means I've solved 2/3 of the puzzles that I've seen that have Rooks on the 7th as a theme. But for Sacrifice, it says 0%. So I'm just going to select that one. I'm going to make sure none of the other themes are selected. And it looks like none of the other themes are selected. And then I'm going to click on that and try to solve a couple of puzzles with Sacrifice as the theme. And if I do well, then I'll come back and I'll pick a different one. So I'm going to click Start down here at the bottom. And it should give me a puzzle. Hopefully that is cropped correctly. Okay, and because I chose a theme, I know that one of the themes here is a Sacrifice. Here I don't know what the Sacrifice is for sure. Let's see. My opponent has a passed pawn right here that I'm blockading with my rook. I have a passed pawn, but its promotion square is guarded twice by my opponent. So let's see. If I take this pawn, that would be sacrificing my rook for a pawn because the opponent will take back here. But then if I took back their queen and they took back my queen with their rook, they would be a rook ahead, but then I could promote because their queen and neither their queen nor their rook would be guarding that square anymore. So I'm going to guess that's what the theme is here. Now, they don't have to take back, so let's see what else they could do. For example, if I take this pawn with my rook, I suppose they could just move their queen out of the way like this, but then I think I could take their rook with my rook. And if they took back, then I could promote this pawn and be protecting it with my queen from behind. So I'm going to guess that that's what the Sacrifice is here, but I could be wrong. It said I had 0%, so I'm apparently not very good at this theme. Oh, that was it. Okay, then I'm going to take their queen. And when okay, I was correct on this one. All right. Now, I don't get any rating points for these because on chess.com, when you choose a puzzle by theme, they're all unrated for some reason. On Lichess, if you choose puzzles by theme, you can choose to play rated puzzles and it will affect your rating. Okay, I'm going to ignore this whole theme section as best as I can, and because there's probably some there that are wrong, but I'm not going to look at it. I'm just going to click Next Puzzle, and hopefully the theme will still be Sacrifice. Okay, I am playing with the white pieces. I am in check. I'm in check by this knight. I can take the knight with my queen, but that's not a that would sacrifice my rook. Because if I get out of check by simply moving out of check, like, for example, moving my king to h1 or taking the bishop, then my opponent will take the rook. So I'm wondering if the answer isn't to take the knight, which sacrifices the rook, so to speak, but then I can also take the bishop. So I don't know if that's it or not, but I do have to get out of check one way or the other. And like I said, it looks like getting out of check one of these two ways just loses the rook for a minor piece. So I'm going to take assume that they will take my rook, and then I will take their other piece, and I will be up a piece at that point. Oh, I'm in check now. Now I take the bishop with the king. Okay. Well, you saw I tried to take the bishop with my queen, not even realizing I was in check. Okay, that's a little embarrassing, but we're working on them. So I'm going to click Next and move on. Again, we know that the theme is Sacrifice, so I'm looking to sacrifice a piece at some point. I just don't know which one it is. Let's see. I think it's the knight, and this isn't even a sacrifice in the sense that I'm not giving up anything, because if they take it, I have checkmate right here, guarded by the bishop. What else? What other choice do they have, though? I think they have to take in this instance, because they can't move out of check. The king won't be able to move out of check because my bishop covers both of those squares, and once my knight's out of the way, my rook will cover this square. So they'll have to take it with the rook, and then I will have mate there on d1. Okay, so that wasn't as much a sacrifice as it was a mate in two, a forced mate in two. And again, I'm going to try to ignore the themes. I got in a bad habit of looking at the themes and trying to correct them. But let's move on. I think I'm going to try to do, I don't know, this will be my fourth one. If I get this one right, then I will go back to the themes page and choose the next theme that I had 0% on. Opponent has just moved their knight, I guess, away from the attack of this pawn. And let's see, is anything of mine under attack at this point? Well, I mean, this pawn, that's not really under threat, is it? Because they're not going to give away their queen for that. What piece could I even sacrifice here? I could sacrifice my knight, but I don't know where or why, because that doesn't gain me anything. That gives away a knight, one of these two ways, but I don't think it gains me anything to put my knight there. It gets out of the way of this rook, but this rook isn't going anywhere. I could also give away this knight here, or here, or here, but I don't think any of those gains me anything. Can I give away this knight? No. I can give away this bishop. Oh, I can give away this bishop here. I wonder if that's it. I've noticed quite often in my game reviews or stockfish analysis that it wants me to give away a bishop with check on one of these two pawns here, depending on where the bishop is located. Very often that leads to something very interesting. So here, if the king takes, what do I have then? I would have a follow-up check with my queen, but the king just moves back to where it is. I would also have a follow-up check with my knight, but then the king just moves back to where it is, and then I don't know what else I would have at that point. I'm not sure if that's it. Bishop captures h2 check, and they don't have to take. That's the other thing. The king could just move over, in which case then I just bring the bishop back. I'm not seeing the big win from that sacrifice. We also know from a lot of the puzzles that I did look at the themes section on chess.com that a lot of the themes are wrong. So it's possible that the theme to this puzzle is not actually a sacrifice, but that remains to be seen. What could I sacrifice here? Let's see. If I push this pawn, I think my opponent has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 defenders on the c5 square. So that sacrifice doesn't look good because I only have 1, 2, 3, 4 attackers or defenders of the c5 square. So that, while that would open up this queen side, I don't think that would benefit anybody except my opponent. If I were them, I think my first capture would be with this d pawn, which would open up their dark squared bishop toward this knight. So I have no idea on this one. I'm gonna do the bishop to h2 check. Oh, that was it. Okay. Now the question is, should I follow that with the knight check here? And I like that one better than the queen ideas that I was thinking of, which either one of those, queen to c7 or queen to d6, would also be check. But the knight move has a dual purpose. Knight to g4 check is not only a check, but it's clearing the path for my queen to get to h4. If the king comes forward, then I wouldn't want to bring my queen. I'm not sure what I would want to do in that instance. But if the king goes back, if I check here and the king goes back, then I would definitely want to put my queen on h4 because I'm threatening checkmate. So I have to gauge, what do I do if the king comes forward to h3? Because I wouldn't have a follow-up check, a good follow-up check with this knight, because it would just get lost there. I would have a follow-up check with the other knight, but then that would lose the first knight. I still think that's best just because it clears this path. But if the king moves, if that's correct and the king moves forward, then I'll have to figure out my next move from there. However, one of these two, as I mentioned, I think the king just moves back and then I can't get my queen over there from here. That's why I'm choosing the knight move. Okay, that was it, and the king did go back, so that has to be the queen to h4 has to be the answer here. Oh, and it just stops because there's no way to prevent checkmate here. I don't think. Well, there is. They could move the rook over, but then I go there, the king moves, and then I go to the back rank, and then the king goes here. I'm not sure what happens after that, but that was correct. Okay, so I got 4 in a row, even though that last one I wasn't sure about. I'm going to go to puzzles, custom puzzles, and then I'm going to choose a different theme here. Let's go down to sacrifice, and it still shows 0%. Not sure what the idea there is. maybe this percentage is only when I'm doing rated puzzles and it doesn't count that I did unrated puzzles. I have no idea. I'm going to uncheck sacrifice and I'm going to check Scholar's Mate. That's what that theme is Scholar's Mate. Oh, it says I've had 0 rated attempts. Well, that's why I have a 0% score. That was the same thing with sacrifice. I had 0 rated attempts. Okay, well that explained the 0%. But it says I've never seen a rated puzzle with Scholar's Mate, so I'm going to try that. And, oh, well, the reason I've never had one of these is because that's got to be rated incredibly low. Yeah, the puzzle rating there was 100. Okay, next. And this is the same thing. It's just, oh, okay. I think 2 of those is enough because I'm familiar with Scholar's Mate, and hopefully you are too. Scholar's Mate is basically where the queen and the bishop line up with the f7 pawn, or if you're playing with the black pieces, lining up with the f2 pawn on the other side. Let's go back to the custom puzzles. That one was a little too easy. I'm going to start all the way at the bottom. How about, I won't try to pronounce that word, but it says I have 2 rated attempts and I failed both of them. So that explains why I have a 0% on this last Z one. So I'm going to select that and uncheck Scholar's Mate. Start. All right. So basically I don't have a good move here. Or is that what that Z word means? Is this the one? Or is it the other Z word that means you don't have a good move? Or if you make a waiting move, then the opponent doesn't have a good move. Maybe this means something else. I don't know. Okay. What I do know about this puzzle is that my knight here was under attack for some reason. And I'm not sure why I didn't take the queen or why they didn't take me, but instead they moved their bishop down here. And they're attacking my queen. So if I take their queen, then they can take my queen. But if I take their queen and they take my queen, then I can take their knight with check. So I don't know what that German word means, but this is just solving this as a tactical sequence. If I'm playing with the white pieces, if I take their bishop, they'll take my knight, and it looks like we're even then. We've each lost 1 minor piece. But I think it's taking their queen. Because if they take back, I take their bishop, and I got a bishop and a queen for a knight. So I think it has to be taking their queen. Okay. And that was the end of the puzzle? Okay. Well, I'll do one more of these at least because it says I've had 2 rated attempts at this theme and failed them both. So I need some practice here. They've captured something here and are attacking my bishop. My bishop can capture their knight, but it would be a trade there. One of those pawns could take back. I noticed, okay, they're also attacking my queen. I could take their queen, but then they would take back. And if they did take back, then what would I do? Then I suppose I could put a rook on the c-file attacking that pawn, but that pawn would be protected by the knight there, so that doesn't make sense. If I take the knight first, they're going to take back with one of those 2 pawns. Probably this one. No, if I take their knight, they're going to take my queen because the knight is the defender of their queen. So if I take their knight, they wouldn't take back here because then I would win their queen for free. I think if I take their knight, they're going to take my queen. Then I would take back. And then they couldn't take back with this pawn because that would leave their rook hanging. So they would have to take back with this pawn. But my pawns would be doubled and we would be even on material. So then what would we do? Is there some other way out? There is another way out. I can check for one thing. Maybe that's the answer. We should always look for checks first in puzzles, shouldn't we? I almost forgot about that. Okay, I do have 2 checks, 3 checks, 4 checks in this position that I know of. Those are the 4 that I see. I can check with the queen on a6 or b5, with the bishop on c4, or the bishop capturing on g2. I think that one's the worst, just because the king could capture back and I'm down a piece without any compensation. And then if I try to check again by moving the queen over, then the king just moves out of check. I don't think that's great. This check, I think, just loses to the queen capturing it. So what about the queen checks? Moving here not only checks, but also defends my bishop. That has a dual purpose there. One thing I've learned in some of these puzzles, sometimes the answer is the move if it's not the most forcing move, it's the move that accomplishes more than one thing. So that's leading me to think that it might be queen to b4, or b5, sorry, because it checks and defends the bishop. My question then is, where's the king going to go? If the king moves over, then what do I have? I suppose I could move the rook this way, right? If I defended the bishop with the rook, are they going to trade queens at that point and double my pawns? And then I haven't gained anything. Okay, I'm not seeing... Well, this explains why I don't have any successfully completed puzzles with this theme, because I really have no idea what to do. The other option was taking their queen first, because checks, captures, and threats. The checks, all the checks that I saw, none of them looked really good. This is one of the captures I have in the position, because we already discussed the bishop capture, and that comes out even, I'm pretty sure. So really don't know. I'm going to take the knight and we'll see what happens. Oh, that was it. Okay, well then it has to be taking the queen back, right? Nothing else makes sense. Or should I check? Oh, I should check first and then take the queen back. I didn't see that earlier. Oh my. Okay. That puzzle was worth doing because I learned something. I didn't learn something. I already knew that, but I got it re-emphasized into my brain. That an in-between move. Is that what the Z word means? In-between move? Maybe that's what it means. Because I didn't have to lose the bishop. Because I saved the bishop with the check and then got the queen anyway. Okay, let me do one more of these. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's the in-between move. Okay, oh, I am playing with the black pieces. Okay. I do like the knight threat here idea. I guess that counts as an... I don't know if this is what that Z word means, but here I'm threatening the queen, but I'm also opening up the attack on their bishop. And of course, opening up their opportunity to take my bishop. But if they take my bishop, I just leave it there for a second, take their queen, and then if they took my rook, I would take back, and then they would take my knight, but I would have lost 2 minor pieces and a rook for a queen and a minor piece, and I think I would come out ahead on that exchange. So instead, they would move their queen someplace, and they can't move their queen to a place that protects that bishop. I'm going to try it. Oh, that was it. Okay, now I take their bishop. And if they take my knight, I also get their rook. If they move their rook over out of danger, then... Oh, wait, I just noticed where they pointed their queen. I need to take their queen now, don't I? Oh, that's good, though, because that saves my knight. I almost lost my queen, though. I think I should take their queen. They won't take my bishop then, because then my queen gets away, right? If I capture their queen on g3, they're going to take back with this pawn, which saves the knight, and then I get their bishop, threatening their rook. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, then I take the bishop. Oh, and that was it. Okay, well, I got 3 of those, and I think I have time to do one more of these. This is kind of fun because it's different. Puzzles, custom puzzles. I'm going to scroll down and uncheck that one, and I'm going to check the other Z word, Zwischenzug. That one looks a little easier to pronounce, although I still got it wrong. Now this one, oh, that one says 100%, so I'm not going to check that. It says I've had 1 rated attempt and I passed it. So I'm going to go to the next one, which is X-ray attack. It says I've had 0 rated attempts on that. So I'm going to check that one, see what we get. Okay. Now, I do know, I think, what X-ray attack means. It means that you're attacking a piece through another piece, I believe. For example, this. This is my limited concept of what that word means. That right now my rook and this rook are looking at each other, except for the fact that there's a pawn in the way. The f-pawn is there, so the rooks can't technically see each other. But what if you could get rid of that pawn? So maybe that's what it means. Like if I move this pawn forward, they can't take because of the X-ray. But no, that doesn't make any sense because that rook's guarded. But anyway, something like that. That's what I'm getting from this. What else is there that's X-rayed besides these 2 rooks? There is this. I'm seeing one of my rooks to d1 because that points at this bishop. I'm already attacking or looking at the bishop with my queen, but right now it's protected. But if I were to move one of my rooks over, I assume their queen would want to get out of the way, I don't know where, but then I could win the bishop. But just because it's a puzzle, let's see if we have any checks. I do have a check here, but that one I think is no good. This pawn is also hanging. I could just take the pawn. We're even on material, I think. We each have a minor piece, 2 rooks, and a queen. So if I take this pawn, I think that's good for me. But that doesn't have anything to do with an X-ray attack. I'm going back, but you know what? If I do this, though, I'm giving up that pawn. So maybe it's the F rook. Whoops. Maybe F rook to D1. But no, but then they have a check. Yeah, I can't move the F rook because of that check over there on F3, the possible check, I think. So I think it has to be the A rook to D1, X-raying the bishop. I'm seeing that number one because the name of the theme is X-ray attack, and I'm pretty sure that's what an X-ray is in chess. But number two, I don't see anything else good other than taking this pawn. And I don't know that that's really good. For example, if I took their B pawn with my queen, I think their rook could just slide over here, pointed at my queen, and then they would be X-raying this pawn through my queen. So when I moved my queen out of danger, wherever I moved it to, I don't know, down here. Oh, I guess I could move it down there and protect that pawn. But I'm pretty sure that's not it. I don't think I've ever, not once, on any of the sites that I've solved puzzles, not once has the answer been going up a pawn. Now, sometimes you end up a pawn after a series of exchanges, but it's also a better position. So it's never just taking a pawn. I'm going to play rook A to D. That was it. Let's see. If I take their queen on D3 and they take my queen, then we'll be even on material still. What if I first take this pawn? Then will they move their queen out of the way, or will they threaten my queen again? If they threaten my queen again, I can... what could I do with it then? I could bring it back to safety, I guess. I mean, I can bring it back to safety right now, can't I? That's safe, isn't it? But then they get their queen out too. Maybe I put it here to keep their queen from having a safe spot to move to. No, they could still move there. But then I would still win the bishop. Because I think that's what's the outcome here is supposed to be, is that once I get my queen out of this danger and they get their queen out of danger, I'm going to end up winning the bishop. I think. But I don't know. Like, is there a better place to move my queen? Because if I go here, they can't protect their bishop either way. So where do I move the queen then? What about here? But then they take, and I take, and we're even. I'm still threatening the bishop, but they can protect it. But I'm also threatening the pawn. If I'm threatening the pawn, I should take the pawn now. Nope, that wasn't it. All right, try again. What was it? That seems terribly obvious now that we talked about it. All right, and then they would take, and I would take back. Wow, I was talking about getting in front of the bishop. Okay, I'm going to hit replay that and start it over from the beginning. I had the right idea at the beginning, but then here I completely missed the fact that my rook would be protecting that square. So that makes total sense. Okay. Well, I think I've gone on long enough, but I like this idea just because it's not affecting my rating and it is giving me practice on some of these tactics. So I might come back to this, but whether or not I do appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time.